John 12, 1 through 11. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, where Lazarus lived, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. Here a dinner was given in Jesus' honor. Martha served while Lazarus was among those reclining at the table with him. Then Mary took about a pint of a pure nard, an expensive perfume. She poured it on Jesus' feet and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with fragrance of the perfume. But one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, who was later to betray him, objected, "Why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? It was worth a year's wages." He did not say this because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. As keeper of the money bag, he used to help himself to what was put in it. "Leave her alone," Jesus replied. "It was intended that she should save this perfume for the day of my burial. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me." Meanwhile, a large crowd of Jews found out that Jesus was there and came, not only because of him, but also to see Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. So the chief priests made plans to kill Lazarus as well, for on account of him, many of the Jews were going over to Jesus and believing in him. Only God can judge me. I had a friend in college who wasn't a Christian, but he had a tattoo on his arm that said these words. And he said the reason he got it was to remind himself and others that human beings always try to judge each other. And then he said that's the trap that some Christians find themselves in. They think they can be the judge. Now, the theologian Karl Barth said that Jesus' death on the cross was the judgment of God in which the judge himself was judged. And Barth was saying that Jesus was the judge, the judger, and the judged all in one. So is Jesus the only real judge that we have? That's a lot, I know. So let's get back to the passage. Now, this passage is scandalous. Mary pours a very expensive perfume that's worth a year's wages on Jesus, and people get noticeably upset. I mean, they could have used this money for ministry, for helping people. And Jesus says these words, "Leave her alone." Why? Why does Jesus say this? Leave her alone. I mean, she was wasteful, wasn't she? But just as in our lives, in our judgment of others, we may miss where God is working in their life. I remember when I was 22, I was in my first leadership position as a pastor at a church, and I didn't have much money, and I wasn't getting paid much, and so I didn't really know how to give or be generous or steward my money very well because I didn't have any to steward. And I wasn't giving to my church or any organizations at the time, but I remember that when I had meetings with my group that I was leading, I would buy about $60 worth of snacks each time every week out of my own pocket. Now, this is super irresponsible, and I would probably do things a little differently than I did when I was 22. But my heart was there. God was working in me to teach me to steward my resources to things that I should be valuing. And at the time, it was the people through delicious snacks. Now, there are so many moments in my life where I probably need mercy, and you as well. But before we judge each other, let us not forget that we may be missing where God is working in our lives. Because mercy opens us up to the way of Jesus. Because Mary didn't waste it. We should leave her alone. Because she pointed us to the most valuable thing in the world. She pointed us to love, to grace, to forgiveness, to peace, and to mercy. And that mercy opens us up to the way of Jesus. Amen.